Hi, this video will be a fun experiment. And what we are going to do is, when it's getting dark, sensed by photoresistor, and we're going to turn on LED. In order to achieve this, we're going to have two separate circuits. Let's take a look. The first circuit is where we had a last video. We have a photoresistor with 10 kilo ohms in series, and this analog input is going to be in between those two. And we know when photoresistor, if it's getting dark, this value will go down. Why is that? When it's getting dark, the photoresistor resistance go up, so it will take up way more voltage. And however, this analog input is basically corresponding to the voltage across 10 kilo ohms. When photoresistor take more voltage, of course 10 kilo ohms is going to have less voltage, therefore analog value will be less. Okay, so in other words, when it's getting darker, this value will be smaller. That's the first circuit. The second circuit is we're going to have a digital pin 11 as the output, right? And we have 220 ohms and with the LED. Our goal is trying to be like this. We have a value. This is our code. Integer value equal to 0, and setup. Inside the setup, we're gonna come up with a serial monitor. So 0 begin, set up to print out the text to monitor, and the pin mode. Remember, this 11 is gonna be our output, and inside the loop, we're going to read this value. This value is defined as analog read 2 in this circuit. And we're going to print it out, those values. It changes with the darkness and the brightness. If this value is less, we know if it's less, that means it's getting dark, right? When it's getting dark, what do? We're going to go ahead and turn on this 11 pin on high and delay for 100. So what will happen is we're going to, when it's getting dark, this LED gonna blink, because it's gonna high on 100 milliseconds, then stay off for 100 milliseconds. So our first goal is go to ThinkerCAD to build those two, and then put our codes in, and hopefully we get ourselves a workable prototype. So now this is in ThinkerCAD. We have our Arduino breadboard, and assume this is 220 ohms. And this is our LED. This two is going to be our one circuit. And this is our photoresistor. And this is our 10 kilo ohms. This is going to be our second circuit. Now let's build our first circuit, which is going to be our LED and this 220 ohms. Remember, it's pin 11. Pin 11 going to come out. And we're going to go through this resistor, and this resistor then connected to the LED, and then we're going to get back to the ground, so we can connect to the ground right here. Okay, so that's going to be our first circuit we have. Then the second circuit is we are going to connect to this photoresistor and this 10 kilo ohms with 5 volts. So 5 volts. We're going to connect it to our photoresistor first. So now we are with this photoresistor, and then after passing the photoresistor, it's going to be 10 kilo ohms, and then we're going back to the ground. Okay, so we have our second circuit. But remember, between the photoresistor and this 10 kilo ohms, we are going to have our analog input to read it, right? So that's going to be anywhere on this row. I believe this is row 9. So any of those holes will work. So I'm going to be here and connect it to our analog too. Okay, so that's going to be our second circuit. I believe then we have a workable circuits now. Now let's look at our coding. Our coding, I initially already put it in. Again, it's the same thing we're just talking about. And the value, it's analog rate number 2. And if this value is less than 600, which means it's getting dark, then we're going to turn on 11 blinking. So let's start our simulation. And we can even run the serial monitor. Right now, what do we say? What do we see? It's very dark. It's 54. So if that's the situation, we should see this LED blinking, which is good. It is blinking. Now let's go ahead and increase this. Ooh, notice something? It stopped blinking because it's getting brighter. If you go to the code, and this value should be greater than 600, which we have. And if you want to change this threshold, you can. You can change to, let's change to 900. In order to do that, we have to stop simulation first and go to 900. And then let's go ahead and run this, see what's happening. Okay, now it's still very dark. So it's blinking, and let's continue to increase it. It's getting brighter, but it's still blinking. Still blinking. Okay, now it's getting too bright. It won't blink anymore because we change our threshold. Alright, so hopefully this is a fun experiment. You build 2 circuits, you use the if function, and you also use an analog read. You use a photoresistor, and this is a functional prototype. Then that's actually how a lot of daily products are made. They have this Arduino products, this microprocessor in there, and they have their integrated circuit. You might not see the breadboard because this is something you practice your idea, but once this idea is made, they made those integrated circuits, and that's actually in our everyday life. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.